This is the Goal Talk Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 13 of the Goal Talk Podcast. I am your host, Michaela Wyman, back today with someone from our People Success team, which is our internal, what we call our HR team here at WordStream. With me today, I have Greg Herrmann.
Hello. Hey, Michaela.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm great. So Greg is our Learning and Development Program Manager, and has some tenure at WordStream. You've been in a lot of different roles here. So I'd love to hear kind of where you started at WordStream and how your role has kind of progressed into what it is now.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, it's been just about 5 years now, or approaching 5 years. Wow. I know, it's scary. I'll be getting one of those gold plaques, I think.
Yeah, in startup world, that's like the whole time.
I know, really. It feels like it's my whole life right
Yeah.
now. So I started off here as a customer success associate. So with our customer success team, handled actual accounts from agencies to advertisers across all platforms. So Bing, Facebook, Google, of course. And from there, worked within the department, went through the promotion paths, worked under different programs within CS. And then we kind of developed a need for a client services training manager because as WordStream was growing, we were getting more employees, obviously more services, things of that nature. So we needed to find ways to scale and ramp up our training process. So I raised my hand at the time. We went through a formal interview process. Luckily, again, too, I was qualified for the role.
Yeah.
And then, started as the client services training manager for about a year with our customer success team. What that entailed was essentially creating new hire training materials. So again, anytime we hired someone new, getting them onboarded through the whole program, and then also creating existing trainings for our existing hires. So whether it's product updates, industry updates,
which are bountiful in our world.
Very much so, to the point where, we literally hold bi-weekly meetings just to cover those different go-to-market initiatives. So, worked around that with the CS team. Also worked on different external trainings with Google and Bing specifically, where they'd come in-house or we would actually go to their different locations and get different kind of subject matter experts. Yeah. So love that. And then just as of recently, as of this last August, I moved to our human resources or People Success team, as you mentioned earlier, now under the guise of Learning and Development Program Manager. So really my role is still very similar to what it was under the Customer Success Department. The only added changes to my role is now that we're delivering this training across the whole organization. So beyond my purview of customer success, I'm now looking at teams like the marketing team, for example, product, engineering, making sure they get the same type of onboarding with their new hires and existing trainings. Beyond that, as I had to this list, beyond that, we have also our compliance training that we also administer through this program. So anything from ethics trainings to being allies, we make sure that everyone in the company is up to date on those compliance trainings and getting those communications out and the benefits of those compliance trainings. Final note is that we are working on a manager training program here at WordStream. So I'm partnering currently with Lucy, who you spoke to just a few weeks ago. And she and I are actually, running that manager training program, which is a monthly series where we give our managers additional type trainings to build themselves up and, again, in turn, build their teams.
Yeah, it seems really helpful. And these trainings that you're administering, not only to the customer success team, but managed services and throughout the entire organization, you're literally writing these trainings, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of this content, some of it's been repurposed from previous trainers at WordStream in the past, but a lot of it is being rewritten, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, due to all those industry changes that are constantly happening, as well as, just creating content because we need it. There's new things that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
We're using new technologies that we didn't have even a year ago for that matter, that are allowing us to scale and make more of this content too. So
cool.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's really exciting though. And I've been here for about a year and a half. And when I started, I went through the customer success training. I started on the marketing team, but I went through the customer success training, just to kind of get a full handle on everything, just because there's so much to learn. I even came from the online advertising world, in my previous job and still felt like I could use a PPC
Oh yeah.
refresher.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, every day, even in my own role now that I've kind of moved on from customer success, I'm not on the phone all the time with our client or
Mhm.
client facing for that matter. So even, yeah, in my own role, I feel like I learn from the CS
Yeah.
department, from some more of our senior members or people who come into our organization with that prior experience
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. That's again a lot, but
Yeah.
super excited. And I'm excited to have you in today
Yeah.
to talk about work-life balance and your kind of experience there and how you see that being important for small businesses to provide to their employees. So um, there are so many things that I could talk to you about. You'd probably be really well suited for every topic we've covered so far. But now with your role being more people success focused,
hmm
I wanted to kind of bring you in for a people success focused topic. So
Appreciate it.
let's
Yeah.
start talking about work-life balance. Can you tell me what that means to you and kind of define it a little bit?
Yeah. So work-life balance. I always find this a funny topic at times because the joke is that we don't have a work-life balance. I think, and I've seen this through my parents, through family, friends. There's always that battle of, yeah, when do I put down the computer, put down the notepad, whatever it might be, put down the tool and provide some personal me time. I don't think there's always a perfect definition to work-life balance. I think you kind of mentioned earlier, like with startups, how important it is. It's going to vary. I think work-life balance is from, again, startups to, larger established companies that are in that kind of corporate or enterprise phase. But I think a big part of work-life balance is essentially just being able to refresh yourself. And I think there's a variety of ways that you can go about that, and companies can go about that for their employees. But again, it's kind of removing yourself, getting that, true punch card in the time slot and saying, okay, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go home and deal again with personal life stuff. So again, personal life isn't always that easy either. There's obviously the fun stuff we can handle, whether it's vacations, family, friends again. But then there's also just the appointments of life and such that we have to get to, whether it's doctors, dentists, daycare, things of that sort. So I think kind of being able to have that perfect balance of both getting your job done, but also being able to have your personal me time so that as those 24-hour periods continue to cycle through, you feel ready to approach each day. So whether you have a tough work day ahead of you, you're ready for it because you've had that personal me time to refresh. Or vice versa, you have a very good work life and you are supported with your employees, your managers, or supported by your managers and employees that, you're ready to go home and handle your day or, be able to stay up those extra hours to go to that dance recital or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we spend, in the US, we have 5-day work weeks generally. 9 to 5 is 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Most people spend more time than that at work. And I think as we spend so much time working and trying to, create a career and like cultivate this professional life for yourself, it can be easy to kind of get caught up in that and not take time for yourself outside of work to, again, as you said, be refreshed and ready to come back to work, but also vice versa, be at work and then leave work at work and have time to just be in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how the WordStream People Success team tries to cultivate that for WordStream employees. I know it's kind of different as WordStream started out, a very small startup in 2007, 2008, and has really grown. We have about 300 employees now. But I'm sure that path has changed for our founders and our executives. But I'm really interested as WordStream is at the size it is now, how we really focus on providing opportunities
for that,
for our employees to kind of have a balance.
Totally. I think, and even depending on, regardless of the size, I think whether you are in that startup small, size, or you're in that larger 300 plus, size company, the the approach is going to be somewhat similar still. And my theory, and what I noticed a lot with what customer success did, is the managers can be a big role in this. And it's simply by just having good one-on-one communications. Because I think often, again, we have different types of employees, different types of personalities, and some people are not going to be as willing to raise a hand and say, I'm overwhelmed. I am, either having a tough time at work or I'm having a tough time at home. And it's hard to kind of, scratch into that surface and find out about that with someone. So managers who develop their skills and I think have good interpersonal communication skills can be critical in terms of identifying when there might be something wrong and having just that good personal conversation. So
establishing trust.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to know that, when that situation might arise again or a different situation arises, they know they have that person they can go to. And then there isn't that uncomfortability and they know they can at least get some sort of resolution or know a pathway to a resolution at that point. I think building that into core values, and I think, again, WordStream in general does that pretty well. Our customer success team does very good job in terms of incorporating those core values and living them into those one-on-ones. So, I think when a manager has a better pulse on their employees, the better that work-life balance can start to go in that direction, I should say. There are going to be, I think, benefits that a company can provide still too, that can help on that fashion. But even just from a very human to human element, that one-on-one can be a big difference.
Yeah, I think having a really good relationship with your manager is so critical. I think we've all had great manager experiences. We've all had really poor manager experiences. Definitely. So I think that it's just so important to maintain a healthy relationship with your manager where you can say, hey, I need some time. I need to go to this doctor's appointment, or I need to, drop my child off at daycare, or my child is sick and I need to go get them and bring them home and care for them because that's important to me. Yep. And establishing that trust where your manager can say, I trust that you will still get your work done. Do what you need to do. Yeah. It's so interesting for me because I've spent a lot of time of my life in restaurants and they generally don't care as much about a work-life balance. It's the kind of rule of thumb there is leave your personal life at the door, come in, do your job, and then you can pick it back up when you leave. Yeah. I've literally been told that multiple times by work managers, which understandable in a work environment. Sure. You're there to serve a guest. But whether it's serving or bartending, it's always, leave personal stuff aside, focus on this. And so when I started after college, when I started my 9 to 5 and worked in corporate America, I still remember my first manager said, your health is what's most important. So if you need to do something outside of work to remain healthy, do it. Yep. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I had never called out from work. I had never stayed home. I was like, you mean that I can just be sick?
Yeah. I literally had the same experience when I was new here on customer success and came from a prior job that was more call center based. So it was very metric based in terms of time, when you're spent on the phone or when you weren't. So coming to WordStream, it was a little bit of a culture shock for myself as well too, because one of the big things that happened was I was running late for a train on my train, which in Boston here is not it's a fairly atypical thing. But regardless, I was running a little late. So I had emailed my manager. His name's Phil. And Phil emailed me back. He said, everything's okay. You don't have to worry about this, or, don't have to email me about this when this happens again. Just make sure you're getting your clients' work done and such. And I was still on the train when I read it, and because I saw his email come in, and I remember a cold sweat hit my forehead, and I was just like, "Oh God, I'm fired. Here it is. First 6 months, you're done. You didn't pan out well." But I was kind of astonished when I actually read it. And then the funny part about it is when I actually walked in the doors, Phil ended up standing up from his desk, and he points over at me and he goes, "Oh, look, Greg's late." But then he just starts laughing as a joke with the whole crowd there, because again, as he then sat down with me later, he said, again, just to reiterate, you do not have to
send an email if you're going to be a little late.
And I think some of this is me being a younger employee at the time, I was, kind of fresh out of college too. And there was always that college expectation of, if you're going to be late or if you're not going to be for that, don't even show up. That door's locked when the finals start, or, you have to be very attentive. So, to finally be treated like an adult And
Yeah.
again, after my graduation, I think that was a big surprise. And again, that made me feel more confident in my manager, Phil, at that time.
And your own skills and your
Yeah,
own ability.
exactly. And I knew that, okay, now I know what my job is day to day. I know who I'm here to appease, beyond my manager, beyond the company standards. I'm here to appease the clients.
Yeah.
And then,
Help them succeed.
Yeah, help them succeed. So again, I had a clearer focus, which I think, again, made me feel that much better walking in every day.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting because I had a similar experience where my first job out of college, I asked my manager if I could leave to get lunch. And I remember her saying, literally just do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask.
Yep.
You can just go. We trust you. And
Yep.
it was one of those,
Yeah.
I'm trusted. And
Yep.
that's such a good feeling.
It is.
And I think it's also important to note that every company, not every company is going to have the same, if you're late, don't email policy. It's different for everyone.
Yep. Every industry.
Every industry, every company's values. And some people might want to be emailed or called if they're going to be late.
Exactly.
But just, I think providing a safe and trusted environment that, if you're hiring someone to accomplish a certain task or, set of goals for your company, trusting them to do so, even if life happens, because there's so much out of our control.
Exactly. Yeah, you never know what's going to get thrown your way, and just knowing your manager or your peers, even for that matter, have your back. Night and day difference then in what you want to do.
And even outside of, we'll talk about specific benefits that companies can provide to help with work-life balance, but even outside of that, just providing, as we said, a trusting manager and a really great environment where employees can feel like they have the freedom and the liberty to do the things that they need in their life.
Totally.
So important. Step one.
Super important. And again, it's something where you don't have to actually have a monetary value behind that.
Exactly.
It's not a benefit. It's not a paid time off. It's literally just being a human. And that human element can make a big difference. And again, doesn't take from your pocketbook, take from your wallet at that point.
Yeah. And it can literally change how that employee feels about being employed by you.
Fully. And I think, again, it then trickles and reciprocates throughout the organization, because one of the things I think is fun now, when I get new hires and come in, I do those same types of jokes and say, don't worry, we're here for you and such. So it's fun to now see the reactions of those new hires where I once was that new hire with that feeling, and then to see their comfort levels increase after that too.
100%. Yeah. And see them, kind of release and relax into the environment. They're going to be so much more productive when they don't feel like they need to be walking on eggshells.
Exactly. And then they're going to produce so much more for the company, be a benefit.
And for their clients.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
Big ones.
So I'd like to talk about some of those actual benefits that companies can provide for their employees across the firm, whether it's one employee, it's a 2-person shop, or whether you have 20 people that you're looking to hire. What are some things that specific companies can provide to make their employees feel like they have a better balance?
Totally. So I'll probably start with something more extreme, and then I'll get into I think what's a little bit more feasible for a lot of companies.
Sure.
So we'll start kind of with the 4-day work week, because I think we've all heard about it. It's been talked about. Yep.
What company recently did it?
Microsoft. So Microsoft tested this in Japan last summer, and I know I wrote some of the numbers down here specifically, but they had a 40% productivity boost. So literally, to our point earlier, even just from a human aspect of being human, you can see productivity boosts. This was a productivity boost where even you were shortening amount of time that they were physically in the office or physically working as well. Because again, we have that technology gap that we have to be worried about. But then also they saw other different types of cost reductions, like 23% electricity costs
when
reduction.
you have a whole day that you don't have to heat or light the office.
Exactly. Yeah. Paper costs were down 60% or so. So there's a lot of different things. I mean, if you're at an office that supplies food or drink, again, there's less beverages orders and things that you do not have to order. So although the whole, idea of, I'm going to have an employee for 8-9 hours less than I normally have per week, well, you might see that still, benefit itself on the return. And also, even though I think this whole 4-day work week, it sounds, monumentally different. I know in the Danish countries and such like that, they are doing a 4-day work week, but it's
Yeah.
still 35 hours per week that they work.
Yeah, and they just split it up based on 4 days rather than 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in theory, they're really doing about 5 hours less on average, again, of per work week. So
But still being more efficient.
exactly,
Yeah.
still being more efficient, and again, getting that proper balance so that
Yeah.
people have, whether it's a Friday or exactly, more time with their family, being able to plan vacations
Yeah.
and family
Not
events.
having to take time off every single time.
Exactly.
Do you know if that changed salary expectations at all, or if those things kind of stayed constant? Because that would be kind of my first question as an employee is, this is great. I'm happy to do 4-day work weeks. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would love the extra time away from work, but does that change what I'm taking home and how I can provide for my family?
In general, I mean, I think it will vary from company to company based on, again, how early are they in their startup phases, or are they, onto that next, acquisition, merger, going public, whatever it might be. That, I think, in general, you can keep salaries around the same as the average for the industries, because again, you do have those other returns that you're getting where you're not spending the electricity, the paper costs, et cetera, that we mentioned.
Absolutely.
And again, you're still going to get that productivity return. I think one of the things I haven't touched on too much is the fact, and we kind of danced around it, was technology, and the fact that when we leave nowadays, we still are bringing work home.
Yeah.
We have our cell phones, we have our laptops, whether it's a personal or a work laptop, we can still connect to a lot of our same systems at home. It's gotten to the point where we have smart TVs now too. So who knows, you'll be able to start doing your Salesforce work. Yeah, exactly. On your
while you're watching Netflix.
Yeah, right in the middle of a family drama or something like that. And then, you're going to get that email update. So, there's just so much connection to technology that even if we were to, let's just say tomorrow turn into a 4-day work week, all of a sudden people still bring their work home. So those 35-hour expectation, there's still going to be more. There's going to be people finishing projects, checking those emails. I mean, I still, I won't say selfishly, I unfortunately on the weekends still check my emails, or I check my Slack messages while I'm watching football, or while I'm watching something that I don't care for necessarily. It's the typical millennial thing to do right now. So
well, example there, one of our coworkers and I recently went on a road trip where we went to 10 national parks and rented out a van, and we were kind of like staying in the van and doing this like camping thing.
Very cool.
It was awesome, but we were out of work for 10 days. And we have a really great PTO policy here at WordStream, which was awesome, but a lot of times we were in deserts, or we were in national parks. We were hiking up the side of mountains. And one thing that was really important to me that I loved that WordStream allowed us to do was be off the grid for those 10 days. And it included 2 weekends. So 4 of those days were off the grid anyways, but I literally uninstalled email and Slack from my phone.
Very smart. Yeah.
And was just like, I don't want to see the notifications. I don't want to know.
Yep.
I'm stepping away.
See, that's the best way to do it. I always do the notification turnoffs, which are helpful. Like, again, I don't see the badges, but I'm still clicking
want to go in there.
Exactly. Because I know where exactly my social media apps are on my phone. I know where my entertainment apps are. I know where my office apps are.
It's the natural thumb movement.
It is. It's no different than when we had flip cell phones and you knew exactly how many times you had to press a certain number to text someone. Exactly. 3 times.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things, and to your point about your vacation, WordStream's policy, is that, we are very good about telling people to turn off their technology.
And allowing them to do so.
Fully, because I've had it many times where I'm back on Slack, I'm answering a message, whether it's directly related to me or indirectly, and I'll get a joke again, Slack reply and says, turn off Slack, Greg. And they're like, I almost
go away.
Yeah, go away, Greg. And I almost feel guilty because it's like, am I overstepping myself at this point in time? Or, they're just being truly genuine, trying to make sure I'm enjoying myself. Which
giving
is
you the time you need.
Yeah, giving the time I need, which again makes me feel so much better because again, beyond even managers, then that makes me know my peers have my back.
Yeah.
I know they're there to, make sure whatever work I have to finish, they're there to help. Or if there's a message that needs some relaying, they're going to relay that message for me too. So love that backbone. Yeah.
So we talked about the more aggressive things, the 4-day work week. What are some other examples?
Yeah. So I think some, lesser extremes here are different programs that you can bring to the office. So again, some of these might be a little bit more extreme or might be a little bit more costly, but there's daycare programs at a lot of different types of
huge
offices. Yeah. Where, those single parents or working families and such like that just need that added convenience, or to know where their child is and to have that easy drop in, drop off type situation.
And usually, or I guess An additional option there would be to either subsidize some of the cost of that, or take care of the cost of that, or allow discounts or something along those lines.
Fully, because I think, and again, I personally don't speak from experience for having a kid, but from my brother and his wife recently had a daughter. So yeah, just hearing all the different types of situation with daycare, it's again, just having that convenience of how close they are. Yeah. So sometimes people will cost cut to get something that's across town just because the fees are so expensive.
Yep.
So yeah, even if it's a stipend, if it's some sort of, discounted program on daycare, I think that can be a big win. Recently here, even at WordStream, we've done a program with this company called Virtudent, where they come in and they actually provide free cleanings and x-rays for dental
Huge,
for dental. Yeah. And big, because again, these are things that, on average 30 to 45 minutes of your day, which again, in the grand spectrum of things, that's not a lot of time, but when we dig into our everyday work days, that can become a huge win for us. So yeah, having different types of opportunities where what would you normally do with your personal time, can you bring it to work? Because then again, at least again for my own personal situation, I worked a little later last night, so I made up that time that was spent in the actual dentist chair there.
Yeah.
So made me feel better. One less thing I have to do on my checklist now for the end of the year, and I know I have some pearly whites, so I know this is a podcast, but still, this is a good benefit for me.
If you could see his teeth, they're just gleaming.
I went with the fluoride. $30 extra, but it was worth it.
Perfect. Love it.
So yeah, I think certain things like that are helpful. A lot of these different programs and things like flu shots, for example, as well.
Yeah.
A lot of these are already things that you can get provided by your healthcare systems that you already are providing to your employees. So a lot of these things were not extra out of pockets for WordStream. It was just simply a part of what we are already giving to our employees as benefits and just making it a little easier for them. So
yeah, love that.
Yeah, those are a little easier ways to work into that work-life balance.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about the trust, the time off aspect, is allowing for either like the trust of needing time for appointments or if something comes up in life. But I think also providing, I think the standard is 15 to 20 days off a year. And then, some kind of rollover program, or if you are in a position to provide unlimited, that's awesome as well.
Totally.
I know that's more prominent in like startup culture.
Yeah, we hear it a lot in Boston, I think, because of that, and at least a lot of those tech startups. And the funny thing about unlimited PTO, I don't have particular metric numbers here for you, but from what a lot of studies show, is a lot of people don't end up using a lot of that time too. So it is a little bit of a
usually use less than they would when they have the 20.
They do, because when you have sometimes those limits of how many days you can potentially use, as that year draws to a close, you kind of see like, oh, this is like money I have, and if I don't use it, it's just gone. It's a surplus.
You can only roll over a certain amount of days, right? So if I've only used 10 PTO days in a year, paid time off days, and I can only roll over 5, but we're allotted 20, you better believe I'm taking 5 days off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to use them. You've earned it at that point in time.
Use it or lose it.
Exactly. So yeah, that's where I think, again, even with unlimited, it might sound like a scary thought or idea, but in reality and in practice, it's not that scary.
And I think it goes hand in hand with that trust aspect, right? Yeah. So if as long as you are saying to your employees, get your work done, I trust you, take the time you need, which goes a really long way with trust factor, but it also goes a really long way with allowing your employees to log off and be present in their lives.
Fully. Yep. Yeah. They're truly able to turn it off, which again, you're going to see in the long run, because they're going to return to the office and they're going to be that, happy face, or they're just going to be a face that's ready there for you.
Yeah,
refreshed. Exactly. Ready to work and, dig in and put that extra effort in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about a lot of different options. I'd like to talk about some examples of companies, in addition to Microsoft, that we might know of that we see do work-life balance really well.
Yeah. Not to push an agenda of WordStream here, but I truly do believe.
Toot.
Not
to toot our own horn, but.
Yeah, I'm going to be tooting it right now. No, I truly do believe WordStream does a great job, because I've come from companies before that have had incredible benefit programs, where sometimes it becomes a bit of a smoke and mirrors. Benefits don't always, or, these ideas of unlimited paid time off and such don't always pay off if you truly aren't really living those, again, either core values or you truly believe in those actual benefits themselves. I think of an example of this would be, similar if we allowed for unlimited paid time off, but your manager was still kind of pushing different projects and such. And when you were on those vacations, you were getting emails from that manager left and right, or, even getting texts from them or such. That really isn't, truly separating yourself from work and life. They're totally infringing on that personal side. So although there is this notion of a, great benefit of this personal life, it's not actually being fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And again, I think that can be remedied by having, managers be more cognizant of that, having good training programs put into place. I think Lucy spoke about some of these points, even with her Unlocking True Talent or True Potential and Talent podcast. So yeah, I think those benefits can sometimes be a bit of a smoke and mirrors. And this even goes to like just giving extra incentives at the office that sometimes don't necessarily mean that you're going to have a personal life. It means that you're going to be staying at work all the time.
Longer hours.
Yeah,
just to
longer
kind of
hours.
Unlock something.
Yeah. And like we always joke here that, we'd love a nap pod. But sometimes in my my devil's advocate side, I go, no, I don't want a nap pod. That means I'm going to be here all the time. Exactly. I'm going to, be working late one night and go, I don't want to take that T ride home that, took forever and I got late for one day. I'd rather sleep in the nap pod. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean that, I'm just going to be living here 24/7, but sometimes those benefits give off that notion that, okay, don't leave. You can just do this right here. And then you feel guilty not taking advantage of that.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect example of taking things too far. There needs to be that balance, right? Like providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner might be really great, but that's, again, additional time that your employees aren't taking a step out, getting fresh air, walking to, sandwich shop down the street to get a sub, or, trying to get a salad or getting a coffee on the way to work. If you're literally providing everything, it's a really, really great benefit. And people might really, really appreciate the cost saving and all of those things, but be cognizant and be aware of the fact that you might be asking people, sending, a between the lines message of it's not okay to leave.
Fully, yeah. And I love free things. Don't get me wrong.
Who doesn't?
If I can get free Uber rides, if Uber's listening, give me free rides. No, but if I can get anything free, sponsors. If I can get anything free, I am all about it. But to your point, I'd be more willing to pay $2 or, maybe not even pay for anything, but just to take a walk.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think that is, and funny enough, an actual thing that everyone should do with if we want to talk about work and life balance, is taking a walk.
Yeah.
I remember
the stand-up desks.
Yeah,
nice.
Stand-up desks are nice. We have that. I remember back in middle school, actually, this was back in high school. I had an English teacher who she always promoted healthy minds, healthy bodies. So we would do poems, and then all of a sudden she'd say, get up, stand up, and then we would take a lap around our school outside. And of course, it was awesome. Of course, we're younger, so we're goofing. You get into your little cliques and you start walking around throwing rocks or whatever. But again, it did get us out of our seats. We moved. It got the blood flowing, which again, then I think got us back in. And then we're able to sit down and, get back into focus. Yeah. So even just simple things like taking that 10-minute walk, like you mentioned, whether it's for lunch, whether it's in the morning or between projects, between meetings. I know it's not always going to be available every day or, between every meeting for that matter, but you got to take that time. You need to, again, just breathe because life isn't that easy, again, either on the work or the personal side. So
and we all get busy. There have been multiple days where especially we're in New England, it's winter, daylight savings. So there are times where I get into the office, it's kind of dark out, and I leave and it's dark out. And I have not left the office because I got lunch inside the building. I brought lunch from home. I sat at my desk, went to meetings, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to go. And it's like, where did that day go? Yep. I have not stood up once.
I imagine it feels like what a turtle feels like in a shell or something like that. Like you're out a little bit and then just dark in a shell and then you pop your head back on and it's, it's dark again. Like I'm just going to stay in my shell the whole day. No, I agree. I think again, depending on where you are, daylight savings times, things like that play a huge role again too, even just on the mental capacity of people. So
even funnier things I've seen offices provide or have offers for things like not only standing desks, but one of my friends has a treadmill desk. So he has a desk in front of him and he just walks on the treadmill as he's typing. It's like, that's cool. And that's a really great benefit. But now walking
has been removed.
Is working.
Exactly. You are no longer going out now for that 10-minute walk that we mentioned.
Fresh air? No.
You're just doing it there. I'm also super afraid of those things myself. I feel like I would just be face planting into that keyboard. I am not a good multitasker, at least when it comes to physical mobility type stuff and mental capacities.
Yeah, you drop a pen or a note and it's gone forever at the bottom of the treadmill.
Oh, exactly. I'd probably have my coffee spill on it. It'd probably like short circuit. So there'd be problems. And again, I agree. I think it takes you away from actually being a human and getting out and communicating with other humans as well.
I can also just see myself and like one of my friends looking over and being like, you want to race, and just start sprinting.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or at least I guess the only benefit to this is if you have a Fitbit, you're going to start getting those steps a lot easier. So you got that 10,000 goal immediate.
Yeah, it's 10 a.m., 10,000 steps.
You'll be there, and then you can just sit the rest of the day.
Exactly. Yes, super awesome. Another funny one, just quick mention, is I have an old boss who bought herself a like spin desk. Oh. So the chair itself had pedals. So she was just kind of
pedaling around on that.
The Wicked Witch of the West.
All I can think of is Ron Swanson had a circular desk where he just kept moving his chair around because he was going to avoid people. So, I mean, in a sense, you're still getting your physical mobility that way, just really in those calf muscles.
Tons of options here.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. So one thing that you've mentioned a couple times that I wanted to dive into a little bit more is core values. Can you tell me what a core value is? Maybe we can talk about WordStream's core values and then how those kind of play into work-life balance.
Yeah. So again, here at WordStream, we have our core values, and they're based around kind of what we believe in a company. Our employees should live, breathe, and eat, sleep. Our product also the same way. But it's also how we manage internally, externally. So one of the biggest core values I've always, at least personally, attached myself to is transparency.
Yeah, I love that one.
Love it. And I still remember my first team meeting here. At the time, Ralph Foles was our CEO. And Howard has also echoed the same sentiment, but it was
our current CEO.
Yeah, Howard. Our current CEO, Howard Kogan. They would echo what their plans were for the year and their visions. And every time it's happened, it's been, we're going to do these 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be, amount of things that we're going to do. We're going to do them well. And it's always stayed on that path. And I think, again, this might just seem like, well, okay, that's normal. He said what he wanted to do and they did it. But there's a lot of companies that will sometimes just give you a surface level idea of what's going to happen, or there
not
really
at
is,
all.
Yeah, or nothing at all. Exactly. Nothing concrete, or there is no communication, which is a very poor experience. But with them, they lived to that. They were transparent about it. And it wasn't just something that stayed within our walls. It was, tell this to your clients. When your clients ask questions about, are we doing X, Y, Z? Yes, tell them we are working towards this X, Y, Z.
Or if there are issues, make them aware of it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not this, shadow type effort. We're very much, transparent in that way. So I think that one really hit me. I loved seeing that it came from the CEO, the executive team, and the fact that they lived it. Because again, I think it's one thing for all the, I'll call them like the grunt workers or us, early associates to junior level associates and such to work and live those values. But it's an entirely different thing when you see your executives and your manager programs actually living those core values.
And to you. Like it's one thing seeing them, being transparent to each other, to our shareholders, to the people in the community, to our customers. But it's another thing walking down the hallway and seeing Howard and saying hi. And he said, hey, have you heard that we're doing this new thing? I'm super excited about it, and then talking through different, I'd love to hear your ideas.
Yeah.
That's happened. And I'm like, Howard cares what I think.
Yeah.
And he truly does.
And he does. And then this goes all the way back to what we started with the values. Again, you feel valued now. Yep. And from someone who is literally at the top of the pyramid, if you want to call it, or the organizational chart, and he trusts, and he's giving you that information, and then it gets you excited. And then what happens when you talk about that to other people, you get them excited. So again, it's kind of this, beautiful wave of just getting things in motion. So yeah, core values, extremely important. I can't, say enough that if you're a startup, you need to identify them, and identifying them. Yeah.
And those are, what's important to your business and to your employees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think you should try to get a consensus on them. We all have our own personal feelings of what our core values are as a company. And even the ones we have now, we reevaluate them all the time. Yeah. It's not just hey, we're always this. Like, maybe we need to add more. Maybe we need to tweak one or, have more content. Yeah. Because the industries change, life changes. So yeah, always be on top of that. And, again, it's not always easy to live those mantras, but just constantly be refocused on them, having them physically around, which is something I think we do well
we have
with.
Them in the office. Yeah.
Yep.
So we have 6.
Yep.
Here at WordStream. Those are be great, take action, thought leadership, winning together, authenticity, and as you mentioned, transparency. 6 we've had for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know that 6 is like a magic number. I don't think all businesses need 6, but identifying at least a few, I think main things that are most important for your employees and for your product and your people to embody
fully
is super, super important. And important, transparency and authenticity can happen as a person and as a company, So I think putting those core values to use around the office helps with the work-life balance. Would you agree?
Oh, I fully agree. And I think these, again, don't have to be like pinpointed, concrete, detailed core values. They can be fairly ambiguous. And like, again, transparency and authenticity, they're fairly, you can get different definitions to those words. But I think that's the beauty, is that we're able to expand. We're able to, find different ways to make and show ourselves as being transparent that maybe we hadn't before because of those new viewpoints or new people that we're hiring as well.
Yeah. And being great, again, that could mean so many different things. Being great on a team, being great as a product to our customers, literally anything.
Exactly. And I think I've seen it with the customer success team where things like be great, they even value their work outside of their actual metrics. So, did someone, raise their hand to volunteer to help with something? Like, again, as we mentioned earlier, someone's on PTO and maybe that person's been taking care of everyone's PTO for the whole, holiday month or something. It's like, that's extra effort. They're not just handling their own work, they're handling their peers' work as well. Or maybe it's not even related to work. They're going and they're donating at soup kitchens and things like that. So
donating time.
Yeah, time and effort, community projects. Like, make sure you're valuing those things, because again, whether it's that you're, putting your brand on those outreach events or whatever it is, or you're not, it still will tie back and people will be like, wow, that WordStream team or that person who happened to work at that company made such an impact. Yeah. So, I mean, you're even giving yourself free branding, free PR in a positive way here too. So, these core values can kind of morph into things that you didn't even think when you created them in the first place.
And one way that we use them here that helps us, I think, with work life is recognition. So what we do every month, we have a company meeting and we recognize one standout person. It's usually between, 3 and 6 people that get recognized every month, but there's one standout person every month that wins an award. It's not like an employee of the month, but it's like a recognition of, they really embodied this core value, and we'd like to take a moment to just really appreciate them. And it feels so good.
Oh, it does. I get emotional when I hear them sometimes, because we allow the people who nominate them to read their words of encouragement or what they did.
And it's just such an impact that people have made.
It really is. And again, sometimes it's things that I've seen directly myself, and I can be like, oh yeah, I know why they got that, or 100%. Yeah, I can 100% high five that. And then it's things that I just were never even aware of, and it's like, thank God I'm aware of these now, because this was such an awesome project or such an awesome thing they did. And being able to see that value, because then maybe I identify that person as someone who can help me with future projects or work. I can help them with future projects as well. So
and so we do that monthly, but then also on, I know on the marketing team we have a bi-weekly staff meeting. And every single meeting, we go around and we say, I'd like to recognize Greg for taking action and stepping up and helping create this campaign that was really impactful. Or, cool. I would like to take a time to recognize Christina for speaking at this conference last week and really, inspiring a lot of growth for, WordStream customers in the audience and those who might not have known about this specific tactic. So I really think that core values are a great way to recognize employees and get them to, really feel like they're being appreciated and trusted.
I fully agree with that. So yeah, I can't say enough that like living it, whether it's again physically on your walls or, in your handouts or guidebooks that you're giving, handbooks that you're giving, your website. Yeah, putting it in your About Us section. But then to your point, living in those micro moments, teams bring them back. I know the customer success team, for example, does that same thing. They have a Be Great thumbs up award that they give someone each month. Now that I'm on the people success team at our monthly meetings, we go through positive things that we've done again, and it can be in or out of work, and celebrate each other. It's just, it's a beautiful moment when that comes together.
Love it. Awesome. So we've talked about a lot, coming right up on time here. Is there anything else that you feel is really important in the realm of work-life balance that those either starting out or, working on a small team should really, try to embody?
Yeah. I think a lot of the points we've mentioned are going to be great points for those folks to take home. I really want to stress the technology piece again. I know we mentioned just the notifications or deleting apps as well. I think we have it in our personal lives too, where sometimes we need to step away from social medias and things like that. So I can't stress enough that that's going to be the hardest, I think, for anyone to do, because just our world and our society is built around technology, and that's just the way things are going to be. So yeah, I think the big takeaways are just being yourself, being human, trying to incorporate that into your culture, whether it be through core values or just being human again.
Yeah.
And breathing. I think that's the biggest thing, is when your life is either, feeling like it's spinning out of control personally or in the work world, take a breath. Find someone who you can talk to too. It sounds weird. Sometimes you just want to take everything on yourself. And we do have a lot of technology, again, that can help us find self-answers to questions or concerns. But talk to another human. Find someone who's either you feel it advocates for you or you've advocated for them, and just talk. See what happens. I think, either you're going to find out that maybe you weren't in the right mind of thinking, or, maybe that will help reset you, refresh you, or they're going to help you get to that right path too.
Yeah.
A lot of us have all been through the same things together, whether we're from entirely different cultures, backgrounds. We've all experienced stuff. We're all humans, Homo sapiens, whatever you want to call us. We're all the same. So yeah, I think it's really just taking that moment, taking that breath, understanding, resetting. Don't be afraid to take personal time, when things are going wrong. Again, find those support systems and go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for all of the, business owners, managers out there, create and cultivate a culture where your employees and those that you work with feel like they are trusted and they are valued. And even if you are starting out small with the benefits that you're offering, do what you can and expand upon them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's the perfect way to go about it. And again, as we mentioned earlier, if you don't have those monetary funds, check to see what, check with your human resources departments, see what you can get access to from either parent companies or through your different providers that you work with as well.
Work with. Yeah,
exactly.
Healthcare, stuff like that.
There's probably stuff you don't know that you already have access to that could save you and, build your team up too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Greg. It was great. Again, make sure you're following us at Goal Talk Podcast on Twitter. Keep it going with the conversation there, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.